Hi, Phil the Mentalist here. So I was watching some magic reviews on some things, and this concept appeared of pipe and slippers magic. I'm like, hey, okay, let's have a listen. And it got me thinking about routining and how we should all probably have some pipe and slippers magic in our routines. So let me get into this a little bit. The first thing I'd like to point out is your routine should be like a three-course meal. You should have a starter that's connected to and only enhances the flavor of the rest. Your main course, which should be your largest chunk of it, and then your sweet, which should just be some things that close that are directly related to balancing out the rest of your routine. So, what's pipe and slippers magic then? It's the stuff you have with brandy at the end. It's just when you're ruminating over things. You have some pipe and slippers magic in your back pocket that just lets you run free. So, say for instance, you're at an actual dinner party as a guest. And somebody turns around and says, hey, you're a magician? What is it you do? Now, say you're a card guy. And you've got your setup on your inside pocket. You've got your deck of cards, and you've got an invisible deck. So you start with, say, Chicago as an opener, and then the starters come out, and you finish those, and you're waiting for your main course, and you move into something. You say, oh, you're celebrating. You've got a couple, and they're celebrating a party, and that's the thing. So you do a couple of things with them, maybe some telepathy, or you know, there's some energy involved. You get some eye contact. Everything kind of works out nicely. I've got a routine in mind that allows you to do that, but that's one of mine that I work with. You do some, oh, you were holding this card and you were holding that card, and now you're both holding each other's cards. Must mean that you're meant to be together, whatever. And then you've got your suite. You've popped everything away. Your main course arrives, you finish your main course. Just when you're waiting for your sweet, you finish with something, just little sweet pops. You finish your sweet, someone, just as the party is breaking up, someone says to you, hey, you know, give us an encore. And you pull out the invisible deck and you say, hey, okay, name a card. And you do the invisible deck thing. None of that's pipe and slippers magic. That's just your average working set with an encore built in. Your pipe and slippers magic comes when the party's broken up and you're sitting with the host and you're having a brandy, and they turn around and say, hey, that thing you did in your main set, not that piece you did with the instant telepathy, what's that? And you go, hey, look, I'll show you something. And you break out your pipe and slippers thing. Now, as a mentalist, very rarely do I do anything with cards. But two things I'm intending on keeping in my back pocket are Sherlocked by Thaddeus and Michael Murray's The System. Because if I do, as part of my main set, or even as my opener, something like Aspidus Novus, and I use, say, Aspidus Novus the way that I use it, which is to get a reading of people. And I do a conjunction of things. First, I'll do the witch hand. as I'm getting to know you. Then I'll jump into some palm reading. Then I'll move to the symbol and do a quick reading based off of the symbol, which I use as a stepping stone into the reading that becomes a star sign revelation, which then becomes a date of birth. Now, the date of birth is going to be the kicker, isn't it? Because you've built it up chunk after chunk after chunk, and you've got, and specifically for you, this collection of personality types, I would say you are on the 11th of February or something like that. That's your big reveal. And yeah, you've got the date that they wrote down. Now, if over brandy or cocktails at the end of the night when you're speaking to your host, he says, about that, and you go straight into Sherlocked, well, that just kind of adds an extra layer. So maybe something like Sherlocked is pipe and slippers magic. Every routine, every piece of magic out there has a place. It might be a bit of business, might be just a little flourishy thing you do that no one else does. It might be a full-on routine that you can steal pieces from. In mentalism, a lot of the things that we're looking for are principles that we can apply to other things. And the routines that we have, it's the difference between magic and mentalism is when you buy a magic routine, you're learning the moves, you're learning the gaffes, you're learning the things that go with that magic routine. When you're in mentalism, you're learning the principles that go with the tricks so that you can build your own tricks with the principles you've learned. You don't have to do a mentalism trick exactly the way it's written. You can steal chunks from it, appropriate it, move it. In Espidus Novus, like I mentioned before, well, the business card version that I do, I've taken bits from presentations by Luca Volt. I've taken Espidus Novus as an idea. Gives you justification for putting everything where it is. And it allows motivation for folding up the business card. Because of the 3 phases, because of the witch hand version of it, it gives you the motivation to fold up the card. Because let's be honest, if I was to read your mind, I would give you my business card, you would circle a symbol, you would write a date, you would put it in your wallet. Now I have to figure out what you've written. You have control over the card the whole time. This is where propless mentalism comes in. This is where things like Sherlock are useful, because you would do the thing. You would use the principles to get them within guessing range, be it an anagram or some other thing that you've got. Either that, or you could do the other thing. You could get them just to write the star sign and circle, and then you can, because I only use 4 symbols, I can use Michael Murray's cups principle. And if it was a star sign, then I could quite easily use either Quiet by Adrian Laughlin, or I could use Raise by Peter Turner, or Algo, or any of the other anagrams that are out there. The problem I have with that is more to do with the structure, because I would need to wing the reading. And I don't like winging the reading. And by that, I mean, if I peek the star sign, I have the star sign. If it's a date of birth, I can peek the star sign because I know what the date of birth is. I can figure out the star sign, and I can work on building a reading around the star sign to make the reveal of the star sign seem logical. And then I can hit them with the date. If the star sign is the big reveal, then I have to build the reading into the anagram by being a lot more Barnum statements, a lot more winging things. I don't really like that structure so much because the structure of it doesn't make any sense to me. So that's why I would say things like Sherlock and Michael Murray. I haven't even discussed Michael Murray's The System yet. Yeah. So Michael Murray's The System. Say, for instance, I do my lucky coin routine. Now I've got a Luca Volp coin routine. It's got the lucky coin by Luca Volp, but I don't do it the way that it's structured. I don't do it according to the Roberto Giobbi Card College Volume 1 with the dropping of the lucky coin. I use a stranger card. And I work my lucky coin around this concept, that luck is a 1 in 52 chance, and that you're going to use my lucky coin. I've set this up so that all the cards are different. You see, all the cards are different, and turn them over, and they're all face up. They're all different. And I go, but only one of these cards is really different, and we're going to see if you can find it. So I do my riffle force. They see they didn't get it. I do my riffle force again. Only this time they're holding my lucky coin. Ta-da! They got the stranger card. Who knew? And in that, they look over the stranger card and it's changed. They look at the coin and it's changed. And then I can move into the other part of it and do like a mentalism thing. I can use a little bit of neuro-linguistic programming and get them to do a visualization. And then they check the coin again and it's changed again, and that's 2 phases and it's hit them, bang, bang. And that's why I like Luca Volp's Lucky Coin, because it does that. It allows you to do that. Inside of 3 phases, you can do a couple of switches. You can do a couple of changes of the coin. You can make it say different things, which is nice. So inside of that would be the structure I would use for the lucky coin. Now, when you come to the end of the night and you're having a couple of brandies and you're talking to the host, and the host says, that thing you did with the cards, the thing with the different colored card, that was really impressive. And you can pull out the system and you can say, well, it's part of this thing that I can do. And you do the thing with the poker chip. Or I wouldn't do it with just personal preference. I don't feel that the other one, polarity, would be the same. I don't think I'd use polarity the way that I would use the system. Because the way that the system works is the same, but the props are different. The props fit more for this kind of, well, I'll show you something I can do. Maybe you'll be able to figure out how I did the other thing if you figure out how I did this. And let's be honest, sometimes that's what you need, is just Everybody else has left. They've got this picture of what's happened in their head, but you're quite close with the host. You're having a conversation. Maybe they're a magician as well, and they're like, I think I know how you did that, but okay, well, let's do something a bit different. Let's just do something a bit slower in pace, and maybe you can catch up with the pipe and slippers magic. And I think that's possibly something that maybe some of us we're focusing too much on the mind melting experiences. We're focusing too much on, you know, getting the main meat of the set without thinking about the stuff like Mark Elsden's cams and the stuff that goes at the end of the set, like the pipe and slipper stuff. Because at the end of the day, especially for someone like myself, the conversational control element of it allows me to introduce things slower. I'm not always in a situation where I'm paid as a magician to perform. I'm not always in a situation where I'm paid as a mentalist to perform. Sometimes it's just nice to sit with friends. And when that is the case, sometimes it's nice just to be able to pull out something from your back pocket and just say, have you ever wondered about this? Pull out the system. You don't have to melt their mind. You just have to sit and have a conversation with them. And certainly as a therapist, I find that I don't want to do effects in my therapy because I don't want to cheapen the results they get with a subpar effect that leaves them with a sort of sour taste in their mouth. I've just finished doing a course of hypnotherapy, and then I set them on a visualization. Now, some of the visualization effects you can do, such as if you just use Louis Laval's The Ritual as an example, don't copy it verbatim. Change it because you understand neurolinguistic programming. If you don't, fine, copy it verbatim. Do what you want. All right. I have done that with a bent nail. Right? As a method of demonstrating that the bent nail happened during the visualization, making it powerful and strong. The person who I did it with still has that bent nail. I sometimes feel like if I did that with the lucky coin, it would feel cheap. Not the coin doesn't feel cheap, but it cheapens the experience. Now, I'm all for magicians doing magic to help people, and I'm all for myself as a therapist taking on more of a shamanic role and using magic inside of therapy to try and up the ante a little on the placebo effect. No problem with that at all. You're not lying to people. You're just using your particular skill set to enhance the effect that you might be having. Now, with that in mind, if you've done a very powerful, say, one of my techniques is I use the God form assumption from the Golden Dawn, but I don't do it in a magical way. I do it as a visualization process. So I allow my visualization process to grow and grow and grow, and it becomes bigger and bigger and outside. And this was something that I watched Darren Brown do, because Brownian thinking is kind of a thing. when he was changing a young girl's religion, he actually, I've heard of people like Fraser Parker have, oh yeah, well, you're questioning your religion and there's a little bit of funny business going on. The way that Darren Brown did it is actually an awful lot easier than employing all the chicanery, because you are just using pure neuro-linguistic programming at its base level. You're changing the submodalities of a belief. But the way that I've done it in the past is to find that place and give that place a picture and allow that picture to grow. So, for instance, if I'm trying to get you to feel unconditional love, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you to think about unconditional love and then put that into a picture. What does that picture look like? And where in your body does that picture live? And now just allow it to grow and grow until you're sitting inside of that picture. It surrounds you. And that changes your state. If you do it properly over time, monitoring what's going on, it changes, it changes your emotional state to a feeling of overwhelming unconditional love. Now, if you've got that overwhelming feel of unconditional love and human beings are meaning-making machines, then you can force the meaning to be just simply by saying, and can you imagine what it would feel like to have someone looking over you with that feeling of unconditional love? And of course, they're in that feeling, so of course they can imagine what it feels like for them. And, that's just something I used to do like years ago. Especially when those random born again Christians would jump out at you and offer to pray for you. I would slow them down, I would stop them, and I would start questioning their religion using emotion, getting them to feel something different. Because I didn't ask them to come and bother me, and if you come and bother me when I didn't ask you to, then the chances are back then I would have thought, oh, you want to go into trance right now. Okay. And that's the thing. I've got to a stage now in my life where I don't do that because I've had to go through it. If you're not at that stage yet, you probably find you will go through that stage. And if you've been through that stage, you'll understand once you get to a certain age, you realize maybe I was a bit of a dick. Yes, I was. Maybe I was using the powers that I was given for not particularly humanitarian processes. Possibly. Yeah. But you grow through that. Scary thing is the things you learn when you're doing that, about how people work, about how to manipulate them. That's why I became a therapist, I think, is possibly to make up for all the nasty stuff I did to people who just forced themselves upon me. Um, yeah. Yeah, that may very well be it. Um, anyway, I've kind of diverged away from pipes and slippers magic, and the whole point of this was to discuss pipe and slippers magic, which is we should always have not just the encore in our pockets, but also this idea that maybe, just maybe, we should also have a couple of bits of pipes and slippers magic. Just little byplay effects that can connect to your main routine, that just allow you just access to something else. Just give you a just give you a chance more than anything else to sit back and not have to worry too much about. It's not a serious performance. It's just you having a conversation with a friend with something that doesn't fail. If it does fail, it doesn't matter because what's the worst that can happen? Something like Sherlocked, you're like, it's probably not as smooth, but if you make your number guess closer to the way that Thaddeus does it in Sherlock, then you can make it much more believable that that's the technique that you used. So that if it comes to it and you're having a brandy and someone says, that thing you did with the birthday, that was really cool. And you say, well, I'll tell you what, let's build you up a PIN number. Or even if you use the Eden project, again, not paid for any of this, I'm just pointing you in the direction. You want PIN code revelations. Peter Turner did one, I think it's called Hack. Gerard Clark, Gerant Clark, G. Clark did the Eden project. You can find that on Theory 11. It's got a passcode revelation for a mobile phone. If you want to do something along those lines, that's one of three effects. Is the passcode revelation. So yeah, there's other ways of doing it. You can use one or two methods for being able to do it. Louis Laval has a passcode divination as well. That's in one of his ebooks. I'm gonna have to find that, have a look. But yeah, I know that he's got a passcode in there that, but you don't get the same ethics from these guys. The thing about Sherlock is that Thaddeus starts by saying, firstly, this is not for everyone. You have to do the work. You have to put in the practice. Understand, read what I'm saying, what I've written, listen to what I'm saying, write it down, make flashcards, do what you have to do to get the principles in your head and the reason why the logic works. And secondly, just because you can do something doesn't mean you shouldn't. Those two things are very important. We should always be learning the principles behind something anyway. And we should always be asking the question, just because we can, should we? I mean, every single one of the people on this channel who watches this, the statement that he uses of, I can vanish a finger ring and make it appear in my shoe. Yes, I can. I'm pretty sure every person who's watching this probably can vanish a finger ring and have it appear in a shoe. If you've borrowed an engagement ring and it's been found in your shoe, who really wants to put that back on? It's like the ethics of tricks with your mouth. Card to mouth, object to mouth. It's a place people don't want their objects going. So, oh, I've found your signed card. It's in my mouth. Here, you can have it. No, but thanks for the offer. But I'll just destroy your deck, and you can have the signed card and keep it, because I know it's been in your mouth, or it's been in your shoe, or it's been in your underwear. No, just oh, let me just unzip my trousers and drop my pants, and here you go. Here's your card, wedged in my bum. No, that's gross. And I'm sure, if I've just inspired you to create a routine where, a signed card appears in your bum crack, then good for you. Go sell that routine to whoever wants to watch it. But for me, no, that's not really a thing. You know, Mercury card fold to bum crack. No, afraid not. Um, so yeah. What think I'm rambling now, and if I'm rambling, I probably need to switch off. I hope even in the rambles you've managed to pick up something. But yeah, the ethics of it. That's it, the ethics of it. If you pick up Thaddeus's work, he puts a lot of study and a lot of work into the principles he creates. And at the end of the day, if you're just new to mentalism or you want something in your back pocket for whatever reason, be it pipe and slippers magic, or be it you actually want to put this into a routine, maybe as a closing act, as a part of a closer, you want to put it in a routine and you go through the principle, that's fine. It's not something that I would use as an opener, that's for sure. I wouldn't use Sherlock as an opener. Randomly walking up to people, getting them to work through a series of principles when I could just walk up to them and get them to write it on a business card, do Devil's Peak by Nate Cranzo. It's a perfectly good peak that allows you to see everything. You could literally do the thing. My issue with it is if I'm using business cards, then if I hand someone a business card, it goes in their wallet. So again, that would be something like Michael Murray's Cups Principle. And if I've got them to write down a PIN number, then I'm not doing this as my main effect unless I'm doing something like Aspidus Novus. I'm doing this as a closer when I've got a bit more time. People have got adjusted to me being there. It's never going to be an opening effect because you need something that punches people in the face. They need to be able to see you, who you are, what you do. That's your opener. All right. And if you approach a table, you go, "Hi, my name's Phil. I'm a mentalist." Now, I'm going to walk you through this really complex procedural piece of magic. Even though I don't have any of your attention, even though there's no rapport between us, and even though you're sitting here, you didn't invite me over, and now I'm making you go through complex mental mathematics in order to make this effect work. No. No. You walk up, you go, "Hi, my name's Phil, I'm a mentalist." And then you pull the ring straight through your finger and say, "Occasionally I can also do some magic as well." You drop that on the table and you say, "Hey, do you want to see something cool?" Now you've got people's attention, right? You do my stranger card opening. If I'm going to do my stranger card opener, then I'm not doing my lucky coin, because the lucky coin takes build up because it's a story based effect. So I do my stranger card opener. It's not Chicago. It's literally just their thought of card is a different color. It takes about 15 seconds to walk up, say it to someone, tell me when to stop, riffle through the deck, they say stop. You go boom, like that, back in, go right. That was really cool. But you guys don't realize how cool until spread the deck. There's it is. You've got a red deck, it's a blue back card, you turn it over, that's your card, right? Boom, it's in their face. You don't get much more direct than that. People now start going, "Oh, yeah, we're talking to someone. Right? You take that card, you pop it back in your box. You then go into transposition. One card becomes another. Boom. Right? And that's as a mentalist, because I can play with the emotional elements of it. If I've got a pack of cards and one blue card, I can go into two tricks straight away. The first would be the opening trick, the color change on it. The next one is probably going to involve two people, and it's going to have a transposition between, but there's going to be some eye contact, there's going to be some emotion, we're going to generate some energy. And then I can move into other things, because there's outs after that. People have now given me a bit of buy-in. They've seen that I'm here, they've seen that there's stuff that's there. I can get into the meat and veg. I can get into the conversation side of things. I can say, look, here's how I started, and we can do an equivocate thing. I've got a medicine bag full of things that I've got pendulums and a couple of loose bits of things that I can equivocate in. I can move into a freedom of choice with 3 items. Doesn't matter. What matters is that opening trick was short, sharp, pop. Now I've moved into something that's got a bit of emotional buy-in. And then I can move into something that allows me some time, so that the effects can then ruminate. Once I've done that, I finish with my closer, whatever my closer might be. Move into a little encore effect if I have to. It doesn't always have to come out. Nobody has to know it's there. And from there, that's when, if you're invited to stay and you're having a conversation, a handful of conversation is mentalism bits. Some, you keep Tequila Hustler in your back pocket. You do a witch hand thing. Maybe some Sherlock, maybe some Michael Murray stuff. Maybe even a little bit of Peter Turner. You've done the main one. For me, it would be the main star sign revelation with the date of birth. If you're sitting having a conversation at the end and you've got Isabella star 3 in your back pocket, or even just, Peter Turner's anagram, you don't have to do the full routine again. And you're using a different method each time. Right? If you've got palm reading in your back pocket, that can also be very much an alternate thing you can do. A little bit of palm reading, tiny touch of personality reading, some Q&A. Not so much the Q&A, that's more of a main effect, but if you've been doing Q&A, but you've also got palm reading in your back pocket, oh wow, that was really interesting. How do you do it? Well, show me your palm, and let's do a little bit of palm reading, and I'll see what I can get for you as well. Right? It's little bits of business that you can keep in the end. And I believe that's what pipe and slippers magic is all about. It's not your main effect. It's not the thing that's gonna sell you your next gig. But it's a nice little set of bits of business that save you having to go back over your old routine that they've already seen. Right? Devin Brown on Devil's Picture Book has a card force. Right? And I used to use this card force all the time. It doesn't involve a deck of cards. It's an invisible deck of cards. Like literally there is no deck of cards there. And you equivocate half of it and do the rest with whatever you see. And it's a card force. It's genuinely beautiful and very well scripted. And the problem is, if you've done that card force maybe once or twice in front of the same person, if they copy the scripting for that card force, they will have that card force. That's an issue. Because if someone's going to see your show 3 or 4 or 5 times, if you've been hanging around the same person 3 or 4 or 5 times, then they'll have seen that card force 3 or 4 or 5 times, which means they will have that script in their head. They'll watch it and they'll go, wow, that's really impressive. The next 4 times they'll be sitting there picking up bits of script. I can almost guarantee you by the 6th time they've seen it, they can repeat the entire script in their head. And they will get exactly the same result from every person they speak to. Now, if you have that card force and you use it wisely, it is pipe and slippers magic. You've only met the person because they're the host of the party. You've never spoken to them before. You've done the Michael Murray thing. They're still quite intrigued. And you go, hey, look. You pulled out the system. You've done the thing. They've worked through the process. Popped it away. Someone else that's there maybe is kind of interested. They're like, hey, you should try that with me. And you go, oh, no. No. Won't try that with you. What we'll do is something completely different. Imagine you have a completely invisible deck of cards right in front of you. And you go into the Darren Brown one. Again, have some variety in your pipe and slippers magic as well. Because if you've only got, say, 2 or 3 or 4 bits, and you're at the same people at the same dinner parties regularly, they're all going to know all your tricks by the end. Because I don't know about you, but I don't have infinite resources to be going and buying a brand new trick every single week just to keep my routine alive. Because the amount of tricks you would have to go through to find the good ones. And I don't mean that like there are bad tricks. There aren't any bad tricks. What there are tricks that need to be put in very specific places inside of your routine. Not every single thing is an opener. Not every single bit of byplay is a closer. Not every single trick belongs in your main routine. Right? I mean, take for instance flip. Flip is a wonderful bit of business and it's delightful and a great way to start if you have a large audience. It would be a great way to finish if you were with some people for a while and it was just about time to go. That would be a nice way to finish. If you were the host and you were like, right, we've got a prize for the person that can last the longest, but we've all had our coffee, we've all had our brandy. Now it's time to, whoever gets out has to phone a taxi. And you do flip to get people out. And then the winner is the last person and they get the prize. And with it's the prediction, it's a really nice little bit of business. But as a way to get volunteers on stage, yes. As a way to isolate an individual, yes. As a way to finish an evening, probably. But as a main trick, you could incorporate it into your main set, but you would have to be very creative about where it would go and what you would do with it while it was there. It's not a polite applause kind of trick. It just isn't. Right? Also, as a warm up, as an opener in a street set where you walk up to someone, maybe not so much. You know, you'd literally be walking up to someone and doing flip, and they'd be like, hmm. You know, it would be one of those where if you were going to do the other routine inside a flip, because they teach two, maybe three, if you were going to do that, you would be walking up to someone in a bar without any anything. You haven't said a word to them. You know, you haven't built any trust. There's nothing there. So it's about, I think, the main conclusion I would like to draw is for you to make.